The Goal, Chapter 7, a great chapter. In my written reviews and summaries of The Goal, my first time I reviewed Chapter 7, I said, a short, worthless chapter. This is a 4-page chapter. Picture Eliyahu Goldratt. This book is published in 1984. He's a first-time author. He does a great job of just kind of marching through the text. This chapter is really a transition chapter. And the first time I read The Goal, again, I thought it was worthless, but something really important happens in this chapter, and that's we kind of go into the narrator, Alex Rogo's mind, and he debates with himself, should he make a commitment to fixing his plant at UniCo? Again, UniCo is the company, UNI, capital CO, somewhat humorous when we think of all the unicorns in modern fundraising, indicating companies that have raised over $1 billion. But Rogo debates, right, should I stay or should I go? A question everyone's had in their career, especially if you're in a hard operational challenge. You know, do you make the commitment to creating lasting change, or is the ask not worth the compensation that you're going to get for it? And Rogo commits. He says he's going to stay. And it's interesting to think about that in terms of The Goal, because what we've done is create a constraint. So Rogo has himself personally said, hey, one of my constraints here, I have this goal of achieving these things in my life. And a constraint is I am not just going to quit and walk away from this job. So he's going to commit to making sure that his plant turns around. And by creating that constraint, it's a great literary device, because otherwise I think the whole rest of the book you'd be saying, why isn't this guy just quitting, given what he has to go through to create a turnaround at his plant? But we take that off the table. So as far as other quotes on page 53, he questions himself. He says, why should I be different, right? Thinking through all the other people that have been in similar situations and decided to walk away. Again, completely reasonable decision. And then on page 54, another great quote, more of the same is not going to do any good. So we talked about chapter 3, and then in chapter 5, kind of the worthless corporate meeting, the ever-shifting mantras that you can get from a corporate setting that's trying to create kind of window dressing change on a year-to-year basis, but aren't committed to kind of the true foundational change that it can take to turn around a plant or a manufacturing operation. And that's really it. So that's his inner debate, is the entirety of this chapter. So click off now if you've been going through chapters 1 through 7 in linear order. Otherwise, I will give a quick 60-second rundown of the book until now. So chapter 1, again, we start off, Rogo finds his boss in the parking lot. Bill Peach has taken his space. We get introduced to the plant. A part's late. Peach is pushing them to accelerate it. They do typical plant activities. When you accelerate one part, when you accelerate one manufacturing operation, it comes at the expense of all the others. Chapter 1 ends, chapter 2 begins, Rogo goes home, his wife is unhappy. Again, this is where The Goal is a little bit different as a first-person narrative, trying to teach this concept of the theory of constraints, in that we do go into the personal life of the main character. She's unhappy. In chapter 2, Rogo goes back to the plant. He works again to make sure that that part goes out. Again, recognizing that he's creating all this chaos, which he's going to pay for in the coming weeks, because by doing everything to hotlight that one part, he's creating constraints elsewhere in his plant that are going to delay every other order that he has. Chapter 2 wraps up at a diner. Chapter 3, Goldratt puts our hero in this big corporate meeting. He's got Bill Peach as boss there. He talks about how Peach used to be a great boss and was big on delegation. They paint the scene of UniCo. The company is in trouble. They get given a bunch of conflicting goals. Chapter 3 wraps up with Goldratt with Alex Rogo finding this cigar. The cigar leads to chapter 4, which is a flashback scene from 2 weeks prior, where he meets Jonah in an airport, Jonah being the mentor that we're going to see throughout the book. They talk about goals. They talk about constraints. Jonah has a couple great quotes. The one I love is, Alex, you cannot understand the meaning of productivity unless you know what the goal is. Chapter 5, he flashes back to that corporate meeting and then leaves it. Chapter 6, he goes back to his plant and debates cost accounting metrics. It's a great book. You'll love it.